The Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens unquestionably are Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. Stevie Johnson, are the Buffalo Bills in the same category?
You better believe it, AK. They're definitely in the same category. However, I feel like they're still in improvement mode when it comes to those teams.
Davis, give me some other teams that could fit the mold of a contender in the AFC beyond those three.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh.
You gotta put them right there. I mean, you talk about Joe Burrow in that offense. I think they're number 2 right now in offensive efficiency. Their defense obviously needs some help, but Lou Anarumo, everybody believes in him when it counts.
Big Lou.
Also, I mean, you got to chuck the Steelers in the Chargers, I think, a rung below those teams, but you got to chuck them in there as well.
I'm a little hesitant when it comes to the Steelers and the Chargers, just because the Chargers, I think, it's matchup based and if they could get hot. But if you were to say the Chargers were to get the Chiefs in, say, the first round, when you have one of those divisional matchups, not saying that's that far-fetched.
Welcome into Broken Table. Ahead of the Bills and the Indianapolis Colts in week number 10, Korolnek, Sanchez, Hein, and Johnson. Bills coming off a big win against the Miami Dolphins. We'll tee up the game against the Colts in just a second, but the AFC East, it's over, right? We don't have to sweat the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots. We knew that from the outset. So the Bills are almost looking ahead to their opponents elsewhere in the conference.
Find people at FanDuel. You can pay out my AFC East winning bet anytime now. I'm waiting. Just pay me that anytime.
Cash that.
Add to the bankroll.
When it comes to the other teams in the conference, I mean, in the AFC East, I think it's the Bills and the Bills alone. But the AFC North, there could be a number of teams that could vie for the AFC crown. Elsewhere, there's no denying the Kansas City Chiefs, who remain undefeated. It's Chiefs, it's Baltimore, it's Buffalo, in my estimation. Who else beyond, you mentioned Cincinnati, Davis? Do you give the Pittsburgh Steelers a chance in the AFC?
You give them a puncher's shot. I mean, look, the one thing about football in the NFL is that it's a one-game playoff. So anyone who gets in, you got a shot. The reason why I would throw Pittsburgh in the mix is because of big playability of Russ and a good defense. That combination of big plays down the field, they get a couple big chunks, get some turnovers on defense. Any given Sunday, they could beat any of those teams.
When looking at matchups, though, and let's go back to the Bills, because for me, it's Baltimore is who I fear. Like, the styles make fights, right? And the way that they're running the ball at a level that's arguably the best running team we've maybe seen in the modern NFL, that's not a good matchup for the Bills. So, Stevie, who are you more afraid of, the Ravens or the Chiefs, from a Bills perspective?
To be honest, I'm afraid of both of them. If we was talking about years past, then yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of the Ravens as much. But like you pointed out with that run game, we know how a running game can lead a team to many victories, and especially in the playoffs and when they get to championship games, milking that clock, controlling that clock. And then when you got a guy that's powerful and a bruiser like Derrick Henry, not just shaking you, it's the physicality that wears your team down. So I'm fearful of the Ravens. You know, they show what they can do to a Buffalo Bills team who come out with no energy. And you know that I feel like that's our only thing. That's our problem. That's the Buffalo Bills' problem, is energy. When it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, we can go toe to toe with them. However, they still got the victories over us. So that's why I can't really speak as confident as I want to against these teams. But I feel like we are a better team if we just put it together. You know, when it comes to the energy and then the skill base, we're good there. You know, that's my thoughts on those two.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about the MVP at the halfway point. So in today's episode of Broken Table, and I think you could argue that the two top contenders are Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, considering the way these two players have played for their respective teams. But I don't think there's any denying the fact that Baltimore offensively is a terrifying proposition. Lamar leads the NFL in passing. Derrick Henry leads the NFL in rushing by a huge margin. He might have 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. I mean, this guy was picked up off the scrap heap, essentially. Tennessee's like, see you later, Derrick Henry. He goes to Baltimore and looks as good as he ever has. It's a terrifying proposition, but at the same time, Kansas City, I mean, like they're going to do their thing come playoffs. Our boy DeAndre Hopkins, who probably saw Broken Table when I said he was washed up, and he's like, all right, I'm going to shove it in this guy's face. What an idiot.
Definitely
over there in
it.
Toronto. I mean, what Hopkins and Kelsey did, Stevie, in their most recent game has to have the rest of the AFC a little bit nervous as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's another point. I don't know how I forgot about it so fast. You know, I was just going off of Mahomes and how every game led by Pat Mahomes is down to the wire. If he got the ball, similar to Tom Brady, similar to Steph Curry. You know, he's a generational talent. He's special. You know, so it's hard to go against that, especially when you haven't got the victory per se over him in those big games. But then now you throw in DeAndre Hopkins, the big plays that he's making. He's not just coming in and making a hitch, catching a hitch and then going down. Now he's catching the deep corner, the deep post on defenders. He's a red zone threat now. You know, he opened it up for Kelsey, and that should be terrifying alone. So I just want, our Buffalo Bills to see what's going on and, take advantage of this week with the Indianapolis Colts and use it as a wake-up call for next week going against the Kansas City Chiefs.
One thing that kind of scared me from last week, that was the first time Mahomes has looked like Mahomes. I think his third down passing at one point, he was 10 for 10 on third down, and he looked vintage Mahomes, could not be stopped. And he hadn't looked like that all year, and that's going to be a problem. The one thing when we're looking at the Ravens and the Chiefs, though, and I know I said I'm a little more scared of the Ravens, you're probably getting the Ravens in Buffalo if it's a playoff game versus you're going to Arrowhead if it's a Chiefs game.
Makes a huge difference, obviously.
But and massive, but we've seen Allen go toe-to-toe with Mahomes. We know he can do it. I have yet to see... Go ahead.
No, that's my
Just
point.
Just find
too.
a kicker, a competent kicker, and then things are all right.
But we have yet to see them stop a team that is as physical and will run down your throat like Baltimore does.
So how crazy is that? You're sitting there, you said it, I was thinking the same thing. The best player in the world on the best team in the NFL, we're both, I think all of us are less afraid of him and them than they are the Baltimore Ravens, who got blown out in their first two games or lost their first two games and have looked suspect.
And have had bad losses too. And we'll say this, give the caveat, they're playing tonight against Baltimore. We're taping this on Thursday. They could very well lose. Sorry, they're playing Cincy. They could very well lose to Cincy tonight. That is not far-fetched.
But it's just, we said it. We always say it. Styles make fights. And we've seen Josh Allen over the last few years go head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes.
Arguably outplay him in some of those.
Absolutely. And hold his own. If not, outplay him, put up the points, 13 seconds, whatever you want to say. I have no concerns that Josh Allen and this Bills offense can go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, and that's what other folks can't do. The problem is run game in the Baltimore Ravens. When you scheme up, and Steve, you know how this works, if you scheme up offensively in your run game, usually the blocking matchups, you're leaving somebody free. That's how you can't block everyone, so you pick up this linebacker, this guard pulls, picks up this linebacker. You know in your run fits who the free man is on defense, and it's the job of the running back to beat that guy. Well, when you watch the Bills play and watch the Miami game this week, you can see it, or last week, you'd see it. They're leaving Teron Johnson free to make the tackle. They're leaving Taylor Rapp free to make the tackle.
Those are little guys, too.
And they're great football players. Yeah. We're not denying it, but they're 20, 30, 40 pounds smaller than Derrick Henry for sure, and a lot of these backs, and that's the thing I worry about with the Bills.
Yeah, it's totally reasonable to worry about that. It's not like when Isaiah Pacheco gets healthy, he's easy to bring down. Joe Mixon, if you play the Houston Texans.
But they aren't Derrick Henry, though.
But they're not. But I don't think there is a Derrick Henry out there, aside from, of course, Derrick Henry.
By the way, those guys both run really damn hard, though.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Sure,
Two of the hardest guys in the league.
They do, and that's something the Bills struggled with against Miami in their win at the Horn against the Dolphins. Right, it was Achane and Mostert running really effectively. And I actually wanted to get your thoughts on this one, Stevie. After the Bills beat the Dolphins, Tyler Bass kicks the 61-yarder. There's a bunch of sentimentality. Everyone's crying in the room. Tyler Bass is doing his speech. Our colleague at TSN, Luke Wilson, a former NFL tight end, isn't exactly fond of kickers, especially praising kickers for doing their jobs. Where do you stand on all the love that Tyler Bass received following the win over the Dolphins?
I'm for it. I'm for it both ways. As a teammate, I always enjoy chilling with the kickers. Sometimes I'll be hanging out with them because they just be in their own world. So I found a friendship with Lindell and the guys that came in like Nick Novak when I was with the Chargers. So I feel different about it. They got one job, but that one job is to be perfect. You understand what I'm saying? Like you have to make every kick because you only have one job, right? And then you got to take into the pressures of it. 60 yards in Buffalo with the win that we know that's out there in Buffalo and Orchard Park. The obstacles that he's going through. This is where I jump off from not being a teammate, just watching the player. I love watching people do comeback stories, second chances, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm on board for it. I actually want to see him getting more situations like that because that's what the Buffalo Bills is going to need later on in the season if they want to win those Super Bowls.
Were you boys with the kickers back in the day, Davis?
not as much as Stevie is, but let's say this. We've been around Stevie for a while now. Anyone that's felt Stevie's energy, interacted with Stevie, it's quite evident that he will be friends with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
The kickers, sure, I love the
He
kickers.
has no enemies. No
promise you, the kickers all love Stevie too. So that's just who he is and how he rolls. So I'm not at all surprised with that. One thing I noticed with this is it was evident afterwards, and it's easy to see. I'll say this: you see when like a backup running back gets a touchdown with 2 minutes left in a blowout, you can watch how his teammates celebrate, and you can gauge how much he's loved in the locker room. It really is. Like it's so obvious. And it was obvious to Tyler Bass that he's loved in the locker room. Guys were really happy for him. Like, they would celebrate any win, especially a big win like that. But the extra amount of love from everyone, he's a good teammate. Guys love him, and that carries a lot of weight.
That kick kept him in their lives.
Yeah.
If he misses that kick,
gone.
It's a realistic possibility he is cut. And Stevie kind of nailed it with the pressures of a kicker. Stevie makes a big drop on a third down. He's not getting cut. You get blown by in coverage in one play. You're not getting cut. If a kicker screws up enough times, they are literally on their cut on Monday morning. And I think we all think it would have happened to Bass if he missed that 61-yarder.
The tears, though. The tears. Josh Allen crying and McDermott, all the emotions.
It's like David said, they like the guy.
I know. Clearly they like the guy.
That's evidently their boy.
I saw this video, Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox apparently went up, hyped him up, and like anytime Dawson Knox has gone to him and like, you're making this kick, he's gone and he's made the game-winning kick. So I hope that this, if anything, because Bass has shown that he can be a good kicker, and then obviously since the Chiefs playoff game, he's kind of been in his head a little bit. Hopefully this gets him back on the right trajectory.
Hey, just to add on that some insight from, being around that locker room and being in that Buffalo Bills locker room, it's really the culture. It starts at training camp, mini camps, rookie mini camps. It starts at, meeting rooms. The way that they organize that culture in there in Orchard Park is different, and I say that because when we point out like Josh crying over Bass making the kicks, the team crying, Bass getting teared up, but they're doing bigger things that don't really need to be crying over. But it's just that family culture that they got in Buffalo. And when I went to other teams, it was cool at San Diego. It was cool with the 49ers. That was home. Great players, cool players, but it was just something different about how the Bills put the team together or kept the team together, or the schedule is something out there. So that's why we saw those tears in a week 8 game or week 9 game. It's something special out there.
Yeah, and it's also a franchise that one of the first things you think about when you talk about the Buffalo Bills in the postseason, there's 2 words that you associate immediately, right? And it's wide right. And that's a kicker. And that's why I think over the years, the Bills, even looking back at the divisional round against Kansas City, we know what happened there. The kicker has been a major story for the Buffalo Bills historically. It's why they need a good one. And Bass has shown an ability, just got to be more consistent. Early on the season wasn't the case. Last year in the playoffs wasn't the case. You hope the 61-yarder that he booted against the Dolphins could be a catalyst for him going forward.
To your point, though, about that playoff game, I know a lot of people kind of hated on Bass. Even when Bass ties that game, Mahomes was still going to drive and score, and they were still going to lose that game. So Bass doesn't deserve the blame for that. But honestly, I'm glad he made the kick. I'm glad for now they don't have to worry about this. But if he goes and misses a field goal or an extra point next week, he's probably going to get cut.
By the way, Chris Hein is a ruthless GM. 61-yard field goal, you're cutting him. I mean, if it was 41 yards, maybe, but you're like, if he misses that, he's cut.
It was the previous actions that it was the doinking the short field goal and the missed extra point that would have done it. But yes.
So Bills Colts this week. The Bills are 4-point favorites in Indianapolis. Chris, give us the stat about the Bills historically on the road against the Colts. It's a shocker.
I was planning on surprising you, but Stevie sent it in our group chat this morning, beat me to the punch. The Bills have not won in Indianapolis since 1998. Peyton Manning's rookie season, he threw 2 picks. Doug Flutie was a quarterback.
Yes.
Thurman Thomas was still a running back, but I don't know if you remember this. Antoine Smith was actually the guy getting the bulk of the carries. And here's a fun fact that some of our younger viewers might not even know. The Indianapolis Colts were in the AFC East when that game took place.
Really?
So that was the last time the Bills actually won in Indy. And I don't know, Stevie, what do you think? Does that streak get snapped on Sunday?
Oh yeah.
Hey, it's hard to speak on it though, man, because I went against a stat like this when we was playing early in the season with the 49ers going against the Vikings, where they were saying the Niners haven't won since 1990s or so. And I went with my heart. and I chose the Niners, and that was my loss. That was the loss that I had for locks. And so I didn't want to jinx or talk anything about this, but when I saw that, it just brought me back to that. And I'm gonna have faith in the Buffalo Bills, and I'm gonna still ride with the Bills though.
Well, the Bills are playing a quarterback this week, Joe Flacco, who's right now as old as Peyton Manning and Doug Flutie is at this current moment. He's an elderly individual, is Joe Flacco, at 39 years old. He's been around forever, and I'm not really sure what to make of Flacco in this Colts offense. We saw one great start, one really poor start against Minnesota. Do you think Flacco can do a lot, Davis, against what the Bills present defensively?
Jonathan Taylor can. I would expect it to be, at least I expect them to try to run the ball, and that should be the start of what they do, because what we've seen. And I would say this, it felt like the Bills wanted to force the Dolphins to run the ball against them, and that wasn't what they were taking away, just because of what they can do in the passing game and the weapons they have. We'll see if there's a shift in this game, and if they say to the Indianapolis Colts, hey, let's force this Colts team to run the ball. Let's force Joe Flacco to drop back and pass the ball, and let's try to stop the run. I think that's early in the game. I think that's what we watch for, the Colts trying to establish that run game, beat up on a weak Bills run defense, and go from there. But I think it'll be a number one thing for the Bills to stop them.
I think the Bills are going to be ready for that, though. Last week, the Colts ran the ball 70% of all first downs in the first half, and that's too predictable. I got that stat from Warren Sharp. Warren Sharp's big on that. These first down runs, when you're doing it that much, it's a lot easier because you can stack the box. You're not expecting them to go out and throw it with Flacco. So I feel like you talked about it a lot, Davis, with the Bills. They scheme themselves to success defensively, and I think they are going to go all out to sort of sell out to stop the run. And you know what? If Joe Flacco can beat you in man coverage with those guys, so be it.
Well, that's it, right? And Josh Downs can be a little bit of an intimidating force. He's been good.
He's been very good
for the Colts. Pittman's been good. But, I mean, it's not like they have a litany of these outstanding weapons for Flacco. But I guess Flacco was doing it in Cleveland last year, comeback player of the year. They're going to need a similar performance this week at home if the Colts have any chance to beat a Buffalo team that is primed to put up a serious record here. And I think for the Bills, again, the division is essentially locked up. It's about playing for the conference and trying to get that number one seed. And we'll see what the Chiefs end up doing in the second half here. Again, that head-to-head showdown in a couple weeks is going to be crucial. But the Bills, this is a game they've got to win because home field is essential for the Buffalo Bills come playoff time, Stevie.
Yeah, definitely. It is very essential. And I'm with Chezzy on his perspective. With the Bills and versus the Miami Dolphins, they kind of allowed them to run the ball because of the threats that they had with Waddle and Tyreek Hill. With the Indianapolis Colts, their threat is the run game. So with the addition of, I believe, Quentin Jefferson and Jordan Phillips, I think we'll see a defense that's a little bit better on the run defense side. And then that'll open it up for the victory with the Buffalo Bills and this Indianapolis Colts team.
I love Jordan Phillips back with this Bills team. He just seems like a Western New York guy. It is home for him. That's a big body too. That'll help. I'll ask both of you guys this though. When looking at the Colts situation with Anthony Richardson, if you're in that locker room, is Anthony Richardson done as a Colt?
No way. Absolutely no chance. You'd be a damn fool to write that guy off. He's shown he's been really impressive in some of the things he's shown. His ceiling is way up there. And look, I think it's overblown. I'm an ex-player, and I am media, but the media, whether you're ex-player or a writer, whatever you are, this whole overblown thing, it's a good story. He called out, he tapped out, he went out. If the dude was tired for a minute and wants to go off the field and take a break, let him go off the field and take a break. Is it a good look? Probably not.
It's just that we've never seen that before.
I agree. That's why everyone's talking about it. But if from a GM who drafts a guy that high, you think you're going to write him off and be not a chance. I mean, his completion percentage sucks.
That's the thing. The accuracy other than Josh Allen is we've seen few guys be able to make that leap.
Can you work on being 6'4" and 240 pounds and running a 4.4? Can you work on that? No.
Good luck. If you could, I'd be working on that. I love that.
But can you work on your accuracy? Right. Is going to become more accurate? Most likely. Is he going to be able to read defenses better? Yes, I'm sure. I think it's foolish for him to even sit him down. I think he should be playing. Let him grow while they're not going nowhere. Let him get these valuable reps. But people are trying to protect their jobs also.
So then, is it a mistake from the Colts to sit him down, knowing you're not a Super Bowl team this year?
Yes.
So, okay, now look at it from the player's perspective, though. If you're in that locker room and you know Flacco's clearly the better guy, How do you sort of separate that this guy should be playing, but as an organization, we need to develop this guy who was the 4th overall pick?
One word: you understand business. That's the business of it.
Yeah.
Everyone in the locker room understands. So well, you're not making the playoffs anyway. So who cares?
Stevie, where do you stand on the Anthony Richardson situation?
Yeah, how I feel about this Anthony Richardson situation is, should they have benched him for tapping out? Yes. Should they continuously bench him? No. I feel like he's the guy that needs to be, the number one QB, and he has to have that on his mind. He can't, with a team that's not having any aspirations of Super Bowl, going super deep into the playoffs, you got to let this kid play and keep getting situations. His accuracy, his game time decisions, that'll all get better through the years. You got to think about a Jared Goff. When he first started, he was going through a lot of things. Then you start building them with players that's also understanding the game a little bit on another level. And that made Goff, you see what he's doing now. His efficiency is great. So his development will come in time. I think right now they need to continue to play him.
Yeah, really peculiar messaging from the Colts as well. They're like, oh, no, Flacco's our quarterback going forward. What if you lose this week to Buffalo? You're 4-6. What's the point of starting a 39-year-old? It makes no sense. You're essentially cooked from a playoff perspective. So it'll be for the fan base, and we'll immediately turn on the Colts management and coaching staff after just a couple losses. And I think it makes all the sense in the world. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out with the Colts and Anthony Richardson.
I'm honestly, from a Bills perspective, I was kind of hoping we would see Anthony Richardson this week. But Flacco's still good. There's still something about Flacco that, like if Flacco was on the Browns all year, are we talking about the Browns as potentially a playoff team?
Absolutely.
Probably.
I think so.
With all the talent that they have. So my thing with Richardson is it's just, we've seen it time and time again, and Josh Allen is the outlier. And I think Josh Allen has almost done a disservice to a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of GMs when they say, oh, we can fix the accuracy, when he's literally the only one. Everybody else, it's been really hard to fix that accuracy.
There were teams trying to trade for Anthony Richardson prior to the trade deadline, which I think makes all the sense in the world. He did stay in Indianapolis, but there were a bunch of guys who did move.
Nobody's trading that guy.
No, they're not trading him, and they didn't trade him. He's sticking around.
People were asking about him.
People were asking about him. I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Bryce Young as well, yeah.
When it comes to the trade deadline, which has come and gone, was there one move, and we could even look back at the Amari Cooper deal or the DeAndre Hopkins deal, was there one move that you think improved a team more than any other?
Yeah, and I think it's pretty obvious because it goes to the teams that have Super Bowl aspirations and a legit shot. The Detroit Lions and Zadarius Smith. I think that, I got to go first, so I got the most obvious one. But I think that was the one because when you look at teams right now, you look to poke holes. Where are their weaknesses, right? And for the Detroit Lions, I don't see any except for pass rush. They lost their two top with Davenport, Hutchinson. Zadarius Smith's a huge signing.
Well, we talked about it last week. Stevie had an end. He was saying he would love to see Max Crosby, obviously, but we talked about Zadarius Smith going to Detroit. To me, the Zadarius Smith thing, it's the cost. They did not give up anything to get what's like an elite or a good pass rusher. And you're right, it fills the need.
I mean, he's not Myles Garrett or Max Crosby.
But who is?
But
for a fifth or sixth or whatever, who
no
cares?
Brainer. Yeah. Total no-brainer. Stevie, is there a move you liked more than any other one?
Yeah, I like a lot of the moves that was made around the league. If you jump, like David said, with the Lions and the NFC, getting that pass rusher. With the Chiefs, they needed that receiver, and they ended up adding that. But mine's, I'm going to say, is the Buffalo Bills. We've seen how uncomfortable this offense seemed before they picked up Amari Cooper. Although it wasn't a trade, I think that was a great addition to the team, and that was something that would take the Bills to the top. When you see how this offense flowed through the rest of the season and through the playoffs.
We should give some love to the Commanders for bringing in Marshawn Lattimore. And when he's healthy, he's as good as almost any corner in the game. He just can't stay healthy. And his hamstring is bugging him, has bugged him for the last couple of years. Consider the NFC East. CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Malik Neighbors. Those are bona fide number ones. You need that lockdown corner in Washington, and they got it. And when he's healthy, it could be nasty.
So, but do we put Washington? I think Detroit is the clear favorite in the NFC. Did Washington do enough to be a team that you could say, you know what, we think they can beat the Lions?
I see that the Lions are, I think, a notch above everybody else. I think the Commanders are in that second tier with the San Franciscos, with the Philadelphias, maybe the Green Bays. And I mean, it's just hard to really look at anybody contending with the Detroit Lions now, but I think Washington has a chance because they've got an incredible quarterback. And when you add someone like Marshawn Lattimore to the defense, which is hit and miss from time to time.
He's a baller, though.
He is. And I think it also sends a message to the entire organization. Hey, we're not letting this season come and go, right? We're all in here. Yeah. We think we can do something. We're going to go out and get a bona fide stud on the back end that can make a big difference for you. I think it sends a message to everybody in Washington that we think you're for real. Now go out and prove it.
One thing with Detroit that's going to make them really tough to beat, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year, they only have to be outdoors, I think it was like a few times this season, and come playoff time, that's running through Detroit. So Goff indoors, protected, that's going to be really hard to beat the way he's playing. Yeah.
You hit the streets for a same-game parlay streeter. It features the Lions and the Texans. Here's how it sounded.
You want to make a catch? You ready? Oh!
My Chipotle bowl.
I'm so sorry, man. It was funny, at least.
I just hope that doesn't go online.
It'll probably go online. Hey, are you a football fan at all?
No, I don't watch football.
You can tell by that awful attempt at a catch, but it was a bad
pass.
pass.
I was holding my Chipotle bowl as well, right?
I'm sorry if I ruined your lunch, man.
No, it's all good. It is what it is.
We are on the streets of Toronto doing a little same-game parlay for Lions Texans on FanDuel. Let's see what the streets are saying. Whoa! That was a rocket. First off, who's your team?
The Rams.
How are you a Rams fan?
Marshall Faulk was my favorite player growing up.
There you go. Okay, so we have a knowledgeable football fan is what we're working with here. We're going to make a little same-game parlay on FanDuel. It's Lions-Texans, arguably the best game on Sunday.
Sure.
First off, who do you like in the game, Lions or Texans?
I'm going to take the Lions.
Anytime touchdown. We got Montgomery seems to score every week. We got Gibbs, looks like one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Who do you like to score in that game?
I guess I'll go Montgomery.
Okay, we got a Monty touchdown. I like where you're going so far. Okay, anything else on here jump out either you want to take?
Might go the under on the Goff pass.
Now, is this
former Rams quarterback?
That's what I was gonna say. So you're anti-Goff or pro-Goff?
I like him, but I'm glad we got Stafford.
You should. Yeah, he got you the Super Bowl, whereas Goff lost your Super Bowl.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So you have Lions to win with the spread. You got Monty touchdown, Goff under. How you feeling about this?
I'm feeling as confident as I possibly can be. Let's see what happens.
Moped guy, football fan? No. Ready to catch a pass? Yeah?
Whoa,
no?
Yeah.
You got it. How well do you know football?
How well do I look like I know football?
A lot?
Not at all.
No?
No.
Not enough to make a same game parlay on FanDuel?
No.
Do you even know what those words mean?
No. It sounds like new lingo.
Blue vest, you ready for a nice catch? Whoa! You didn't even put your hands up.
I thought it was to the guy behind
No,
me.
you got the blue vest.
I'm ready.
Oh, he's running and everything. Briz, get on this. Here we go.
Go deep. All right.
All right, one of my favorite segments we do here on Broken Table. It's Stevie Johnson's Villain of the Week.
Why so serious?
Who we got this week, Stevie?
Okay, this week after getting completely wrecked, I'm going with Caleb Williams in the Chicago Bears. I want Caleb to be the villain of the week going against the New England Patriots just for some personal reasons. My guy Keenan Allen is over there, and I need Caleb to wake up, man. Just look for Keenan, and then that'll solidify your stats. That'll solidify the victory, and that'll put you back on top, So I'm looking forward to Caleb Williams being the villain of the week versus the New England Patriots.
You got to take care of business against the Pats if you're the Bears.
We
saw what happened with the Jets losing the Patriots. What happened to that organization thereafter? Same could apply to the Bears if they were to fall to New England.
I think Stevie's onto something, though, because this is a very big game for Caleb Williams. There is a lot of whispers of people saying, maybe I would take Drake May over Caleb Williams with the way Drake May has looked so far. And I think that's a perfect segue to get into our staff best bet, because I'm going to be focused on that game. I know you three are all in the Bills game, but I'm going Drake May over rush yards, over 25.5 rush yards.
25.5.
He's hit that in 3 of 4 starts.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great athlete and a good runner. I don't know if you guys remember him at college at all. That guy ran like crazy in college. And he's the Patriots offensive line is not the greatest. And young quarterback, you get a little bit of pressure, tuck it and run. And I think he does that against the Bears. Bears are giving up, I think, about 18 rush yards to quarterbacks per game. So it just needs to extend that a little bit by about 7 or 8 yards, and we're good.
He almost hit 100 last week.
Yes.
How is it 25.5? Is that a bad number from FanDuel? We need to take advantage of that immediately.
We will not say bad things about
Don't
FanDuel.
publish this podcast.
FanDuel,
Don't tell
don't
anybody.
worry.
We got the inside
Get,
scoop on
get your
it.
bets in before this goes live, and FanDuel corrects the mistake.
All right, deal. Davis, what do you got?
I'm going under Jonathan Taylor rushing. I think just because it's a point of concern and focus for the Bills this week. They got smashed in the run game last week. I think they put a lot of resources into stopping the run, I go under John.
I've got an under as well this time. In the Bills and Colts game, under 47.5 points. I was looking at it. The Bills have gone under in 4 or 5 games on the road this year. Only 5 of the last 21 road games for Josh Allen started Bills games have gone over the total. So this is a team that plays, I think, a little bit of a slower pace on the road, and you're going to see a lot of running between the Indianapolis Colts and the Buffalo Bills. Flacco also, I wonder if the bubble has burst on him being a productive starter in the NFL. I think the Bills can stifle what he tries to do offensively. I like the under 47.5. Stevie, what do you got for us?
All right, so yeah, I'm 6-1, I believe.
No,
right
you
now,
had a loss last week. Bills didn't cover.
Oh,
you were.
okay.
You were. You're 5-2, or yes, 5 and 2 or 6
pretty
and
good.
2.
Not
pretty
bad.
good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So yeah, that plays to my point. 5-2. You know, most of those wins came because I was looking at you, Chris. I was looking at you, AK. I was checking out Davis' reports and Takeda's. So that's how I was getting those victories. The 2 losses that I got is because I was going with my heart. Like we said, the San Francisco 49ers going into Minnesota, that was some voodoo history, some spooky history. And then, you know, last week I went with my heart, and then this week I'm going to continue to go with my heart. Hopefully it don't give me 3 losses, but I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills over the Colts, and I'm picking the Bills to win by more than 4.5. Here's the kicker though. I don't mind if we do win by a field goal, because we actually, as a Buffalo Bills fan base, we need to have Baz going more of those situations. There's pressure. So, hey, if I win or if I lose, it don't matter as long as the Buffalo Bills win.
Yeah, we know the history, right? 1998, Peyton Manning versus Doug Flutie, the last time the Bills won on the road. We'll see if they can
And
do
honestly,
it again.
Stevie, like you just didn't get the cover last week, and the Bills probably should have covered that game. As
Oh,
someone
for
who also
sure.
lost money on the Bills not covering that spread.
For sure. Another great episode here of Broken Table. Thanks for being with us. Stevie,
That was fun.
you know
That
how to
was fun.
finish this baby off.
Hey, look, if you got the opportunity to help somebody, try it. If you can't help them, at least you tried. Remember, you guys, handle business, have fun, and repeat. One love from the Broken Table.